face is really red for some reason. Let me turn on my...
There's color filters.
Yeah, you know, my complexion is just really, Zoom doesn't know what to do with my complexion. Now you can see half of my head has kind of disappeared, but whatever. So today we're going to talk about Google Sites. And so we're going to kind of take it from the beginning and talk about what would happen if I were teaching a class and I wanted all of my students to have a Google site and I wanted to have some control over it, but then I'm also going to show you how to get in there and design your own Google sites. So let's go ahead, and if you weren't in the first session, don't worry about it. I'm just going to do a little bit of a review of what we do with our Google Drive to make sure that our Google Sites have all of the students all in one place, because that's one of the things that often happens. If I'm creating a Google site assignment for my students, and I want everything to be all in one place, it's really difficult if I just have them create their site and then they send me their link and then I have to sort of figure everything out. So what I like to do is I like to create those sites for them, or I like to create a folder for them that they can create their sites in. So I'm going to share my screen. And I'm just going to go into my Google Chrome. And I'm going to go right to my drive.google.com. And as you remember, we've got the My Drive, which is, you could create this in your My Drive, but then the permissions are a little bit different than if you create it in your shared drives. And if you remember, the My Drive works with owners and editors, whereas the shared drives work with co-managers. So it depends on how you feel. You know, you have more control if you create it in your My Drive, and you're always going to be the owner, but then it gets a little bit hairy if you want to have co-managers. So one thing that I like to do, if I go into the shared drive, you'll notice we've got that Learning Lab for G Suite, but if I wanted to create a new folder, a new Google Drive, shared drive, I could do that. So I'm going to go to New, and I'm going to create a new shared drive. And let's say that I had, I used to teach English 202, which is medieval and Renaissance English Lit. And so I want to create a shared drive for all of my English 202 students, and I'll hit create. So I've got that English 202 folder, and now what I can do is I'll go ahead and manage my members. So I can add any members that I want to it. So if I were going to add my wife, I could add her at email.wm.edu address, and then I'd make her a content manager rather than just a manager, right? And then I'd hit send. And she's going to wonder why she's a content manager of English 202, but I'll explain it to her later. And now what I can do is I can go ahead and I can create a website. So I'll go to New, and I will create a Google. I'll go to More, and I'll say Google Sites, and I'll create the site in that folder. And now any student that you create a site for in this folder won't be able to publish a site. They will be able to edit it, but then until you've published it the first time, they won't be able to publish the site. So they will have edit privileges, but you'll have final say over the first time it gets published. Once you publish it one time, then they'll have permission to publish it. So often what I'll suggest, if you want to give students permission to publish, I'll call this one Bella Ginsbergsky Bloom. And now you'll notice that since I made a change, I can hit this publish button, and I'll hit publish. And I might want to name that site so that no one's confused about whose site that is. So I named it up here, and I named it in the title area. And I'll hit publish. And now we can give it a name. So this is one of the nice things about Google Sites, doing it in your William and Mary domain, because we can give it an address, and you can see this horrible address. It's called sites.google.com/email.wm.edu/ and then whatever name you choose. So I'm going to call this begins English 202, just so that it's its own name, right? And I'll hit publish, and then look at that horrible URL. I'm never going to remember that. And I'll hit publish. And then I can view the site. So to view the site, I'm going to pull down my arrow next to publish, and I'll hit view the published site. Okay, so now here's the site, and you notice here's that URL, sites.google.com/email. Now, as long as you create a Google site in our William and Mary domain, there's a trick. You've got a really nice URL, which is just the name of it, begins English 202 .gs.wm.edu. That's a much nicer URL, something that I can actually remember. And it's going to default to that horrible address, but this is at least the address that you can type in. The GS stands for Google Sites. Now, if I hit enter, you'll notice it resolves to this horrible URL, but it's at least an alias for this domain. So to get started, I want everyone to go ahead and create themselves a Google site. And I will stop sharing and give you a chance to go to your Google Drive, create a Google site, and we'll kind of get started. And I'm going to go back to not having a virtual background because this is getting some sort of disappearing into the background. If you have questions, just call them out. Got my William and Mary t-shirt that I got from the basketball game. It's the only basketball game I ever went to at William and Mary, but they have this cannon that they shoot the t-shirts out of. I grabbed it from a little kid. He already had one, so I didn't feel bad. Problems? People not able to create their Google site?
I'm already forgetting how to start.
Okay, so, let's take a look. So there are several ways to create a site.
I went to Google Sites.
My favorite way to create a site is decide where I want my site first. And then I want to build it in that area. So I'm going to share my screen again, and I'll kind of show you how to do that. So I'll share my screen. So here I am, and I'm going to go to my Google Drive. Remember, Google Drive is where we're going to do everything. drive.google.com.
Okay, got it.
And now I've got a choice. I can build it in my Drive, or I can build it in my shared drives. It doesn't matter. And I can create a folder in my Drive. So let's say I wanted to create it in my Drive because I didn't want it in a shared drive. I just want this to be my personal site, right? So I'm going to go to my Drive, and I'm going to say new, and I'm going to say folder. And I'm going to call this Mike's new Google Sites folder. It's kind of an elaborate name, but what the heck. So now I've got Mike's new Google Sites folder, right? So I'll click inside Mike's new Google Sites folder. And now notice up at the top of my Google Drive, I've got my Drive, and I've got Mike's new Google Sites folder. So now I can do whatever I want in this folder. I can create any new Google app inside this folder. So if I go to, when I'm in this folder, I know whatever I create is going to end up in this folder. So if I go to new, I can create a Google Doc that I want in this folder. I can create a Google Sheet, a Slides, a Forms. And if I go to more, I have all these other options. And one of them is Google Sites. So I'm going to create a Google site.
Is there a reason for putting the the sites in a folder because you're going to add stuff to your site. So you want everything in that one folder together.
I just want to know where my site is.
Yeah.
Because if you just create it, if you go to Google Sites, like you can create it if you go to Sites. Another way to create it is to go to sites.google.com.
Yeah, I ended up there and was a little confused.
And then if you click on blank, it'll create it, but I don't know where the hell it is.
So,
And that bothers me. So I want to know where my site is. So then, you know, I like to create a folder, and then I like to create it from that from inside that folder. So there are two ways to create a Google site. This is my preferred way. It just keeps things easy, and I know where my sites are.
Mike, you said once you go on the My Drive and you name your folder under My Drive, where do you go from there?
Then go into that folder.
Mm.
And then you should just be able to go to New up at the top left.
Uh-huh.
And then you go to More, and then you find Google Sites, and you create that site.
Okay.
Hey, Andrea, we are just building our Google Sites right now. So if you like, you can go on in and go to your Google Drive and create a Google site. If you've got a Google site that you want to play with, you can just go to that one. But right now, people are creating new sites, and there's two ways to create a site. You can create a site by going to sites.google.com and hitting the plus, which is fine, but what happens is I never know where that site actually lives. Or you can go to drive.google.com and then create a folder inside the My Drive or inside the shared folder, the shared drives rather, and then create it inside that folder. And now you know where it is. So either of those is an option. Everyone okay? Does everyone have a blank slate site now?
Yeah, I just forgot how you ended up giving it that alternate name, the alias.
Yeah, so the great thing about the alias is anytime that you have a site, once you name it, once you publish it, it's automatically going to have that alias. You don't have to do anything about it. You just need to remember.
Well, I have to assign it an alias, though. I saved it as I published it, but I didn't give it an alias name.
And you don't have to, because it automatically will be whatever the name of the site is. So let's say you named your site Jeff Shields.
Yeah.
Now the alias is jeffshields.gs.wm.edu. You don't have to do anything special to have that happen.
Okay.
Yep.
Doesn't seem
Otherwise, you have to remember sites.
So wait a minute. You can't assign it your own alias?
You can. You just have to name it. So here, I'll show you.
Yeah.
Let me show you how to name the site, because I think that's an important thing to start out with. So I'll share my
It helps
site.
sometimes organizationally. I mean, I've managed like 3 or 4 websites, so it's just nice to have different
Absolutely.
names.
So I'm sharing my screen with you. You should be able to see it. And now let's say that I wanted to, right off the bat, this is the fresh page. I haven't done anything with it. First thing I want to do is call it something. So I'm going to call this Mike's Awesome Site. And now I'm going to give it a page title. I'm going to call it Awesomeness. And now let's say I want it to be Awesomeness. I want that to be the name of my site, right? So when I hit publish, the very first time, it's going to ask me what name I want.
Oh.
Right? And now I can call it whatever I want. I can call it Awesomeness. And then look at this ugly URL again. It's going to be sites.google.com/email.wm.edu/awesomeness. But, and now, by the way, the other thing that you can do right off the bat is decide who can view the site. By default, only people at William & Mary are going to be able to see the site. If you want everyone in the world to see the site, first thing you'll do is click Manage. And now you'll say, you see where it says links vary, I'll say change. And now I can say, I want it to be public.
Yeah.
And then I can make it public and anyone on the internet can view and find it, right? And then I'll say done. So now it's Awesomeness and I'll hit publish. I can also request that public search engines don't display my site if I wanted it to be kind of hidden. But now I'll say publish. And now I have that ridiculously long URL, but I also have awesomeness .gs for Google Sites .wm.edu. And then it defaults to that awesomeness. Now, let's say that I get tired of awesomeness as a web name. I can change the name. So I can go to, let's see, is it under publish? I go to publish. You see now I have a downward arrow. Once I've published the site, I'm going to have a downward arrow next to publish. And I can go to publish settings and I can rename it if I like.
Nice.
Okay. So it's very easy to do that. I can also view the published site from here, or I can unpublish it if I need to take it down for any reason, and then I can republish it later on. Okay. So while we're up at the top, let's talk a little bit about that top bar, because there are lots of important, cool things at the top. So first thing you notice, I've got that site document name. Make sure you name your site, otherwise it's going to be untitled and you're not going to know what the heck the name of the site is. But now on the right-hand side, you'll notice I can either undo the last action or redo the last action. It's kind of nice. The other really nice feature that Google Sites has is a preview button right here at the top. And if I click on preview, it's going to show me a bunch of different views. So it's going to default to show me what it looks like on a large screen. But I can also click on tablet to see what it looks like on a tablet, like on an iPad or something like that. And another great thing, I can look at it, what it's going to look like on a phone. If I click on phone, now you'll see, oh, it's going to be awesomeness SS, which looks, and I'm like, I don't like that, so I can change it, right?
Yeah, it's really nice.
So it's really nice. And then to exit preview, you click on the little X there. So especially in these days when, I mean, so many people look at their websites on a phone, the great thing about Google Sites is it looks gorgeous on a phone as long as you do it correctly. So that's the preview button. Now there's also copy the published site link. And if I hit that, now I can send that to people. So I can just copy that link and I can email it to people if I like. The next button over, this gets to the collaborative piece, because now I can share this with other people. And if I click share, now I can add whoever I want. So if I wanted my wife to be an editor on this, I could click her username and I can make her an editor, or I could make her a published viewer. So either of those is an option. So I'm going to go ahead and make her an editor, and you can choose to notify people if you want. You can send them a message.
Is a published viewer just someone who could see it?
Yeah. Because you could switch it so that only people you've chosen are able to see it. That's one of the options. It doesn't have to be open to the world. It can be only open to certain viewers. And then making her a published viewer would give her the option of seeing it. And now I'll send her an email and she says, okay, now you're the editor. So that's sharing with others. This settings button up at the top has a couple of nice features. There's one nice feature that I want to tell you about that we're going to talk about later, but I'm just going to show it to you now. So if I click on settings, now you'll notice I have all of these options. You can look at all of these things if you want. I don't particularly find them useful, but the navigation setting is kind of the nicest thing. So there are two navigation modes. There's a top navigation, which will make you a menu up at the very top of your site, or there's a side navigation, and that's going to create a menu on the left-hand side. And then you can change the color if you want. I'm going to leave the color for transparent. So I'm going to leave the top menu right now because we don't have any new pages, but as we create pages, you'll see what happens when we choose either the top menu or the side menu. And then I've got the ellipsis here, and I can click on more. And this will give me a version history, which is really nice because let's say I want to go back to an original version because I messed something up. I can go and I can check the version history, and that will let me go back to another version of the site. I can hit duplicate site if I like this site. Let's say I have a template for a site that I want to share with students, and I want them all to start with the same basic template. I can click on duplicate site and it'll create a duplicate, right? And then I can always take a tour and it'll show me some of the basics of Google Sites. So that's the top bar. It's got a lot of useful things in there. Any questions? Okay, great. So as you have questions, feel free to call them out. We are not even getting into the general basic area here yet, because I still want to talk about the dashboard. So that was the top of the dashboard. And now on the right of the dashboard is where all the fun happens. If you notice, we've got 3 tabs at the top. We've got Insert, we've got Pages, and we've got Themes. Insert is going to allow us to add content to our site. Pages is going to allow us to add pages to the site. And it's also going to allow us to create that menu structure that we want. And themes, we've got just a few simple themes, because that's the trade-off that we get for having a really good looking, easy to use site. The themes are pretty locked down. So if you notice, I've got the simple theme, the Aristotle theme, the diplomat theme, and every time I click on it, it shows me what it would look like. So I can do the level theme, and you can play around with that. And I'm like, oh, I like the level theme, for example. So if you like the level theme, there are some things that you can change about each theme, depending on the theme. I can choose a base color for it. So if right now it's yellow, or like a yellowish orange, I can change it to a kind of a teal. I can change it to this pinkish color or green or gray, but I also can click on this little paint box, this paint bucket, and then I can change it to any color I like. I can either find a color here organically, or if I know the hex number for a color, I can find it. So let's say I wanted a William and Mary color. So to find the William and Mary colors, what I do is I would go to, I always just do a search. I do William and Mary green. It always tends to find exactly what I need. So it takes me right to this University Colors site. And I click on that. And look, it shows me every single color. So I can do the William and Mary green, William and Mary gold, William and Mary spirit gold, silver, and all of the tertiary colors that William and Mary uses. So if I like that William and Mary gold, for example, look, here's that number with the pound sign in front of it, or the hashtag in front of it. And I can copy that. And I can paste that right into there. And now I've got that William and Mary gold as my accent color, right? So there's no need to save, it saves automatically. So now I'm done with my themes and I've changed my theme around. So take a minute, I'm gonna stop my share, play around with everything that I've talked about, make sure that you see where everything is and you can change the color and you can change the theme. There are other things that you can do with the theme. And so take a look at the other things. You can change your font style. You can change your font size sometimes, depending on what the theme is. So we're going to work from the outside in. So now that we've talked about themes, I'm going to go to pages. So I'm going to share my screen again, and we're going to talk about how to add pages and what that looks like when we add pages. All right, so here I am. And on the right-hand menu, I've got themes, and we saw that, and I've got pages. Now, I've got a home page, and you'll notice that I've got these ellipses right by the home page. And if I click on that, I can duplicate the page, I can check out the page properties, or I can add a sub page, right? So all of those things are possible. So if I wanted to look at the properties, well, duplicate page, I think you understand what that is. But if I want to look at the properties, I click on that, and now I can change the name. Let's say I don't want it to say home. Let's say I want it to say welcome, right? And I can say advanced, and I can have a custom path, but I don't want that. So you don't worry about that. And I'm going to say done. And now I've changed my home page to say welcome, right? And let's say that I wanted to create a sub page. I could do that as well. So if I click on that arrow, I mean on the ellipsis, I can add a sub page. And let's call this about me. And I'll say done. And now if you notice, I've got this about me page, and it's right underneath the welcome page, and it's indented, which means, what does that mean? Look at my menu. My menu has a little downward arrow by welcome. And underneath, when I scroll over, it says about me, and I can click on the about me page. So I can jump from the welcome page to the about me page. And that's what a sub page looks like. And you can have a sub page. You can do whatever you want. I can add another sub page. So I'll add another sub page and I'll say contact me. And I'll say done. And I've got that contact me. And now when I hover over, you see I have the about me and I have the contact me, right? So that's how you add pages, sub pages to a main page. To add just a regular old page, if you notice, I've got this nice plus down here at the bottom. And when I go to the bottom, I've got add a new page or a new link. A new link could link out to anywhere in the world. So it could link to my William and Mary page that's on Cascade. It could link to another website. It doesn't matter. It could even be an email link. But if I want to create a new page, I'll create a new page. And now I can rename that page. So I'm going to call this photo gallery. And I'll say done. So now if you notice, look at this. It keeps building my menu automatically. Welcome, about me, contact me, photo gallery, right? And now I can create another page and I'm going to call this secret page where I want to keep all my stuff. I don't want anyone to see. But now look at that. It says secret page. I don't want it to say, I don't want it to even show up there. I want it to be invisible to the general public. So look at what I can do. I pull down on my ellipsis. And you notice how I have a lot more options here than I did in my welcome page. Every page that you create that is not the welcome page has other options. So secret page, what can I do? I can make that the home page. I can duplicate the page, of course. I can change the name of the page by the properties area. I can add a sub page the same way as I did in the welcome page, or I can hide it from the navigation, or I can delete it. So I'm going to hide it from navigation. And now you'll notice I still see it, but I know that it's hidden because it's got that cross through it. It's got that line through it. But I want to reveal it. I'll show it in navigation. But I want it to appear after the photo gallery page. So I'm going to grab it and I'm just going to drag it down below the photo gallery page. And let's say I want it to appear not below the photo gallery page, but I want it to appear as a sub page under the photo gallery page. I can grab it again and drop it right into the photo gallery page. And now it becomes a sub page of my photo gallery page. Okay, so that's how we work with pages. Now that we have some pages, let's take a look at that menu that I showed you before. First thing I'll do is I'll publish it. And now you'll notice this page is not published, so I'll go ahead and publish it. And now I can see your site has been published successfully. View. I can view it immediately if I'm fast and if I click on that thing at the bottom. Otherwise it disappears and then I can't click on that. But I can always view the page by going up to my downward arrow by publish and say view published site. So now I'm viewing the published site and you notice that it stretches out the full width of the page. As I shrink it, it will fix itself so that it takes full advantage of the size of the page, right? And now here it is, about me, contact me, photo gallery, secret page. Now let's say that I'm on this page and I'm viewing the page. I can jump back very easily to see the dashboard. I've got a little, if I'm logged in, I've got a little edit this page pencil down at the bottom right. So I'll click on that and it takes me right back into editing the page. All right. Now let's go back to settings because remember what I talked about, the menu at the top versus the menu on the side. So if I go to the gear where the settings are, and now I change the navigation mode from top to side. And now if I close it, you'll notice I get this sidebar thing, those 3 lines. So I can open that up and I can actually show the sidebar. And I close it. I'm going to publish this again. And we'll take a look and see what that looks like. It changes the site look. I'm going to say view publish site. And now as long as my page is wide enough, it will always remain, that menu will always remain visible on the side, on the right, on the left-hand side. And as I click on the arrows, then it will show the subfolders. So I can jump to About Me, I can jump to Contact Me, I can jump to Photo Gallery. And as I get to the page that has nested pages, then those nested pages will be revealed in the side menu. If I shrink it down, at a certain point, when it gets too small, that menu disappears, and now it's clickable to receive that menu, right? And that's the basics of pages, themes, and that menu area. So questions so far?
Yeah, I'm back to the beginning. Am I on?
Yeah.
Okay, good. I can't seem to pull up my site. I may have forgotten some little letter somewhere.
Okay, very easy. Go to sites.google.com. If you can't find your site.
Well, I'm still on this, the creating page.
Go ahead and share your screen with me. I'm going to stop sharing, and we're going to have you share your screen. We'll take a real collaborative effort tonight. Okay, so there's your page. That's your editing page. And now if you pull down your, by publish, you've got that arrow. And you're going to say View Published Site. And there it is.
Oh, hadn't gone. Okay, I hadn't saved that. Okay, but I'm
Yeah,
saying
you're going to have to save it whenever you do something.
right. But you said to go to it directly with the shortcut.
Yeah, so you go to craftingplus.gs.wm.edu. Well, let's make sure you did it the right way. It's crafting dash plus, maybe. Go ahead and, so here's what I want you to do. Go to, click on the downward arrow and go to Publish Settings. Crafting plus, oh, you know what? Take a look at what you did. Sites.google.com/view/crafting plus. You built your site outside of the William and Mary environment. So you're logged in not with your William and Mary name, but with your Gmail account. So you have different permissions in Gmail, like gmail.com, than you do with your William and Mary account.
Okay.
So if you want to start again, what you do, remember how we switch from a Gmail account to a William and Mary account. Go to the A at the top right. And then you're going to say that one. Yeah.
Okay, I'll start over. Thank you.
Okay, great. Yeah, no, that was great, because that's a good example of what happens. And then how you know that you've made a mistake. And it's very easy to build that site up. It's just super.
How do you delete the messes that I made so they're not hanging out there?
We could talk about that later.
Okay.
We can get together tomorrow or later on next week, and I'll show you how to do all that stuff. Okay, so let's go back to the actual meat of the site. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen again. So here is my site. And again, I'm going to click on the little pencil to go into my edit mode. And now we've looked at themes, we've looked at pages, we've looked at this top menu, we've looked at how to change the menu from the top to the left-hand side. And now we're going to talk about what kinds of things we can do on our site. So first thing I want to show you is the way that Google kind of makes options available to you when you're looking at your site. So if you notice, when I hover over any content area, you see there's a blue box that appears. And that's what you are going to have an effect on. So I haven't clicked on it yet. I'm just hovering over it. So now you'll notice that I have this blue box. And if you look very carefully, you'll see that I also have these like 4 dots at the very top center. And you see how right now it's a cursor. And if I can select text with my cursor, I can do other things, right? But now if you notice, as I hover over, you notice how the cursor changes to 4 arrows. That means that I can click and grab and I can move it somewhere. Okay, I can move it to one side, I can move it to the other side. So that's how you're going to move stuff in Google Sites. You're going to grab it And now you're going to watch, you see, you can move it around. That's going to be a very important skill to have. Now, if I click on it again, you'll notice a menu box appears. Menu boxes will vary depending on the kind of content that you've clicked on. So this is a text menu box. So I've got a lot of different options. I can change the font size from title to normal text to heading to subheading to small text. I can change the font if I really want to. I don't get involved with that. I can change the font size. Let's say it's a little too big. I can change it to 60, but I need to select the whole thing before I do that. And then I can select it and it'll be 60. I can change the boldness or italics or things like that. The other thing I can do is I can create a link. So I can click on Insert Link. And I can link, take a look. I can either link to an internal page. These are all the pages that I created. Or I could link somewhere else. So I can link to google.com or wherever I wanted to link to. And I'll click Apply. And then you'll notice I get this ugly line underneath it. And that shows that there's a link. Right? I can also get rid of the link by highlighting it and then hitting remove, or edit the link by highlighting it and hitting edit. I'll remove that link. I can also decide, by the way, I can also decide whether I want it aligned to the left, to the right, or center. So let's say I moved it all the way over to the right. I want a particular look and I want it to be aligned to the right. So now, you know, it has a certain look. It looks kind of cool, better than just hanging out in the middle there, right? I can also get rid of it. I can trash the whole thing. I also have other options here. I can change it, the line spacing. I can indent it. I can make this strike through, or I can clear the formatting. If I copied and pasted from somewhere else and it retained the formatting from somewhere else, like if I copied it from a Word document and all my formatting is screwed up, I can select all that text and hit clear formatting, and then it'll put it back into the Google Sites formatting. And now the other thing I can do here, if you notice, I've got these two circles on either side. So I can grab those and I can drag them to make them different sized. Let's say I wanted to say photo gallery on 2 lines, I could do that. Or I can stretch it back out and have it be the full length, right? So lots of things I can do. Just play around with everything that you can do on each of the times that you hover over and get that blue box. So if you notice, I clicked on this header and you can see very faintly that blue box is now around my header. I don't know if you can see it or not. It might be difficult for you to see. But when I clicked on the header, you'll notice I have new options. You notice I have this trash can over here. I can delete the whole header. If you delete the header, you can't get it back. So, but it's not a big deal. You can delete the header. I can also change my image. So I can click on change image. I can upload a new image, or I can select one of their pre-selected images. So if I upload an image, let's see, I don't know what this is. Probably dangerous to look at. I don't want that. There's my wife's wallet, which you don't want to see. What's that? That's ugly. So I'm going to just go ahead and, what's that? No, that's her license. Favorite place for lunch. Let's do that. I'll hit open. And now it's an image that I selected. And you notice what it did there. It decided that it wanted to make my text black now and lighten the image. Google Sites made that decision on its own. I can change that. I can say, don't adjust it for me. And I can click on that, but now it looks horrible. So I'm going to click on it to adjust it for readability. I can also change the image to a selected image. And I'll do that again, just so you see what I did. I went to change image, select image, and now I've got all of the images that Google provides. I've also got access to find a URL or search Google if I wanted to do that. So let's say I wanted a beach image. So here's a nice beach image with a nice sort of umbrella, tree umbrella. I'll say select. And now it's adjusting for readability. And now it's like, there it is. So I can completely change the look of that site very easily. Okay. So now I can also mess with the header type. Header type, you get 4 different kinds of header types. So if I click on header type, you'll notice I have cover, large banner, banner, which is selected, and you can tell it's selected because it's blue, and title only. So I like title only if I really don't want to take up space at the top of my page, like if it's a resource page that I want, I'll say title only. And now that text goes away, the image goes away, and it's just a no nonsense, here's the information. But if I go back to banner, it'll save my banner from before. I can click on a large banner, and now it gets a little bigger. And I can go to a cover, and now it's really big, right? So all of these things are possible. I'm going to go back to banner. And this kind of gives you all of the tools that you're going to need for what we're going to do later. Now we're going to start adding content, right? Questions before we get into content? No? Good. All right, so take a look at all this content in the insert. I've got a text box, I've got images, I've got stuff from Google Drive, I've got Embed, I've got different layouts that I can choose. And then I've got stuff down at the bottom. I've got collapsible text. So if I wanted a question and answer thing, I've got a table of contents so that I could, if I have a lot of information on a page, you can click and get someplace very easily. I've got an image carousel so that if I wanted the page to look cool, I could do that. So if I choose, some people like an image carousel at the top, and you can delete this whole area and create an image carousel. Buttons are cute. You have dividers, placeholders, YouTube to add a YouTube video, and that can be really engaging. And the other things down at the bottom are all Google products. So it's very easy to embed a Google Doc or a Google Slideshow or a Google Sheet or a Google Form. So remember, we talked about Google Forms last time. One of the nice things you could do is create a website. And we were talking about this last time, how we can then pull all of our Google assets together in a Google site. So I could have all of the forms that I might want people to fill out. So, you know, if I were an administrator and I had forms for requisitions or, you know, filling out requests or things like that, I could have just a forms page, and then I could start adding forms. So if I wanted to add a form to this, it would be very easy. I'd click on forms. And it's going to go to all of the forms that I've created in Google, which is really nice. So now I can say, okay, here is my consultation form, which I use all the time. And I'm going to go ahead and insert that. And it inserts my consultation contact form right in my Google site, right? Which is pretty nice. And then I have some control over it. So I click on it and I can decide that I want it. I don't want it to take up that much room. I want people to have to scroll when they get to the site. I just want it to be like that much information. So I could do that, and then you'll have to scroll when you actually get to the site. And then the great thing is I can start putting things next to other things. So if I wanted to put an image down, I'll click on an image, and I can either upload an image, or again, I can select an image. And if I select an image, I can get everything that I've got in my Google Drive. So here's an image that I've got in Google Drive. I think I took this in Kiev. And I can drag this. Take a look. Now, the same way that I was able to drag the text before, I can drag my image. And I can click on it. And you notice when I click on an image, I've selected it and I have different options than I had when I had the text. So I can crop the image. I can uncrop it. I can create a link to something else from the image, the same way that I created a link from text. I can delete it. Or I can replace the image. I can add alt text, which is great for people with disabilities, or I can add a caption. So I think this is the Bobby Yar Memorial in Kiev. And same thing, I can center this. And now I have a caption, right? And I could link this to another folder that has other images in it if I wanted to. So if I wanted to shrink it, if I grab this, if you notice, as I hover over one of the circles, I get the double-sided arrow. And you have to be very careful when you shrink an image. If you shrink it just as it is, it's going to shrink it wherever you drag it. So if I drag it up, it's going to make it small. If I hit the Shift key as I'm dragging, it's going to change it in proportion to itself. So a shift drag is going to change it in proportion to itself. You notice I can't make it be weird. It's going to be the right size. And then I can move it wherever I want. Now you notice as I move it, I get these different guidelines. So I can drag it into whatever guideline I want. And let's say that I wanted to switch it to be in front of my consultation contact form. I can just drag it to in front, right? Or let's say I wanted it down below. This is such a great tool to show students web layout and for you to play around with web layout. It's just fantastic. And then, you can add some text. So when I do text, I always like to play around with text. If I don't have text right now, I go to and I know that there's a placeholder. I go to this cool site called Lorem Ipsum, and I can generate Latin text. So I've got this Latin text, and I'm just going to grab a whole bunch of it, and I'm going to copy that. Because now I don't have to make up text. I want to see what it looks like when there's a lot of text. So I'll click a text box, and you notice it gives me this text box right here. And I'm going to paste it in here. So here's all that text. And it might have copied the format from before. So let me delete that. I'm going to right click instead. I'm going to say paste and match style. Well, actually, let me just delete this whole thing, because I think it might have held that whole thing. So I'm going to do that again. I'm going to add a text box. And you notice how it's normal text Roboto 13. And that's what I want it to be, because that's what my site is. If I start pasting text in from another website or from a Word document or something like that, it's gonna look weird, because I'm gonna have different fonts all over the place. So instead, if I right click, I have this option, paste and match style. And I'm gonna do that. And now notice how much different it looks. It looks nice. And I can notice how when I hover over the top, remember those 4 dots that I told you at the very top, as soon as I get there, I've got those 4 arrows. I can grab it and I can drop it. And there it is. It's dropped in there. And I can go ahead and I can edit it. Let's say that there's too much text because I don't want it to go past the image. I can kind of fix it up so that it looks nice. And I have all of the same options. If I wanted to, let's say I wanted the text at the top to be bigger, I can go ahead and change that to 30 point. And I'm like, that's too much, so I can delete that. And you can start making a really nice design for your website. Let's talk about some of the other options that you get on the side here. You notice when I'm in any one of these content areas, I have 3 options on the side. One of them is to choose a section background. So if I choose that section background, it looks like a palette. I can choose regular, I can choose emphasis 1 or emphasis 2. And emphasis 2 is going to be that highlight color that we chose before. So there's emphasis 2. Or I can delete the whole thing. Or I can duplicate the section. Let's say that I like this section and I want it to be a model for other sections. I can just duplicate it. So this is a really nice tactic that I like. I like to change the look of it from one area to the other. Let me delete this area and I'll just kind of show you what I mean. So I'm going to duplicate this section. I'm going to duplicate it again. And now what I like to do is to break things up is I like to choose the emphasis 1 at the top, emphasis 2 after that. And you can just keep going back and forth between emphasis 1 and emphasis 2, and it creates a really nice effect, right? And then I can move this image to the side if I want. And now all of a sudden, it's got a little bit of style to it, right? And it's much easier to read, and it looks much more appealing to the eye. So, questions so far? We did a lot. I'm going to stop my share and I'll open it up to questions. Is there something you want to know how to do that we haven't looked at?
Yes,
Can I
there is.
ask about security?
Security. So it depends on what you mean by security. So it's a website that you can make available to any number of groups that you want. It can be available to anyone at William & Mary who has a William & Mary username. It can be available only for viewing. It can be available only to people that you choose, or it can be available to the whole world. And as far as editing goes, you can make the editing available as well to either people you've chosen, people at William & Mary, or anyone in the whole world. If you wanted to, you could make a website that anyone in the world can edit. It just depends on what you want to do. And the way that you do that, let me share my screen again, and I'll kind of go over that very quickly. So the way you do that is in the Share with Others button up at the top. Click on Share with Others. And now you'll notice links vary, and I can click on Change. And so my draft is restricted. Only people that I've added can look at it. But I can also make the draft available to William & Mary or anyone with the link. Publish Site is public or restricted only to people I choose, to William & Mary, or I can remove the link completely and only I have access to it. And then up at the top, I can decide who has edit access and who has view access. I can also change ownership. I can give somebody the ownership of it, and then I'm no longer the owner of the site. Or I can remove somebody from having any rights at all. So that's how you can do both of
Can
those
you
things.
make it department, or do you have to just add each name?
You would add each name at that point.
Okay.
Yeah. Or, you just make the link available and you only share the link. Nobody else is gonna be able to find it if you just make, you say anyone with the link, and only the people with that link can view it, which is
Okay.
probably the better way to go, because people in departments tend to not be logged in correctly or at all. And then they're like, I couldn't get in. Well, were you logged into a William & Mary account? No. Well, that's why you couldn't get in. Other questions? I think, Jeff, you had a question.
Yeah, I'm not sure this is the right this is the right website for it, but let's say I wanted to link a manuscript or a paper that I had published. So I guess I have to load the document somewhere.
Right into your Google Drive.
Right. So I'd put it on Google Drive, but then I want to just put the link in the website.
Perfect.
So what do I do?
So to do that, I'm here, and let's say that I wanted this lorem ipsum dolor sit amet to be the link.
Yes.
I highlight it. Now I get this link thing.
Right. Okay.
I click on link and then take a look. I can go ahead and find that link somewhere. So I'm going to go to my drive. I'm going to go to my drive. I'm going to go to the paper that I want to link to. So let's see, I've got this untitled document. I don't know what that even is. Okay, so this is a little bit about me, which is fine. I'm going to make sure that it's shared with everybody. So I'm going to say share, and I have to name it. So I'm going to say, okay, Mike Bloom, fine, that's good, save it. And now I want to decide who is going to be able to see this page. So if I want everyone in the world to see it, I click on Change to William & Mary. I click here, I say anyone with the link. I copy that link, done. And then I go back to the site, and I'm going to paste it in there.
Right. So you're basically giving it a URL, or using the Google site URL for
exactly.
it. Okay, I got
exactly. And that's the really wonderful thing about having everything in Google, is you just very easily post it, grab that link, make sure that the permissions are correct, and then you stick that in there, and then everyone has access to it.
Cool.
Or the other nice thing that you could do is you don't even have to do the link. Watch what else I can do. I'm going to create a new page. I'm going to call it Manuscript. Done. I'm going to go into my Manuscript page. I'm going to say Insert, and I've already created that Google Doc. So I'm going to say Docs. It'll only work if it's a Google Doc. If it's a PDF, it's not going to work the same.
So that's what I was hoping. So it wouldn't work with a PDF?
It will. You just have to embed it in a different way.
Right,
So
right.
I'm
Okay.
going to say Insert.
So
And there it is. It inserts it right into the page if I wanted it to. If you want to do that with a PDF, you can do it.
Well, I'd rather not do that with a PDF. I just would prefer to have a link to the PDF.
Right, and you can
And then I
easily,
just have like a page of links with it.
exactly,
Okay.
exactly. So that's how you would do that.
What looks kind of nice is to make an image of the first of the
Yes.
PDF. So it kind of looks like it, but it's too small to read, but it looks like, oh, this is the paper I want or something. And people will click
Right.
on that instead of just the text.
And I do that fairly often. I'll just do a screenshot of that first page, save it as a JPEG into my Google Drive, and then I'll use that as the link, that image as the link. And that's a really nice thing to do. The other thing that I'll do a lot is I'll embed a Google Slideshow right into my site. So if I go to Slides, I've got my Google Slideshow. So here's my creating a podcast slideshow. I'll say insert. For some reason, it's not showing my Google Slideshow. Isn't that just always the way? I'm going to hit publish and we'll see what happens. No, it hated that for some reason. Oh, no, there it is. So it's loading. So here's the wonderful thing about doing it that way. I'm going to view my published site and it creates a slideshow inside my site. And now here it is, and it's completely clickable right there in my Google site.
Cool.
Yeah. Questions?
Yeah, I just timed out while I was doing this and I've been on my Google Drive for the entire time. So why did it time out? That was really weird.
I don't know. Sometimes it just decides it's going to time. It does it to me every once in a while. I'm like, why did that time?
Yeah, I was not expecting that.
Mike, remember when you first set up that press? What was that? The you did
WordPress,
this
yeah.
WordPress site. You're trying to get the faculty to do it, like to do their own part of the page.
Yeah, this is so much easier.
It is. It's so much
It
better.
looks so beautiful.
I tried WordPress and it's like clunky.
It's clunky.
It's like
I don't-
Adobe Photoshop, but it's.
I don't teach
you
people
know, and that
WordPress anymore. WordPress is good for very specific uses, but
Yeah.
for 90% of the things that people want to do, this is so fast, it's so easy, it's so beautiful, it's so user-friendly.
And those tribe pages, I used to try to get the faculty to
Oh,
set their
yeah.
own like that. They should be doing this now.
Yeah. No,
Oh.
this one I don't mind teaching to students and faculty.
So Mike, before I know it's 8, I'm like going crazy. My mind is going crazy with all these things I want to do because I have this herbarium. I have a whole I'm a curator
Yeah,
of 83,000 specimens. So you said that there is a limit. We got interrupted last time and I said, what's the limit? So I can't put
I'm
my,
not sure.
I can't,
There
I
are
already
no
have
answers to that yet.
we already are going to be part of a data portal as external. And I'm thinking about how I can import some of that stuff, but I'm just going crazy. My mind is just racing with my herbarium stuff.
Are you planning on using this as the main page for the herbarium?
I'm thinking about it. First off, I've been in a SEF grant right now where we're getting students to do stuff. And I'm just like, this is a great page that I could just direct students. Because right now they're having to do online databasing with these images and stuff. There's the other data portal site is really well made it has an optical character reader embedded in it and there's all this stuff. So and we have to get it up to that site, but this could do all kinds of neat projects. Like I am like really excited, like find this one curator, like find this one collector and do a Google map and show them. And then you can click on it and can you open up and could we have that link to an image? And I'm just really excited. I don't know. I'm just like manic right now.
Here's what I suggest. There are going to be pages that you want a search engine attached to, especially for something like the herbarium, right? So what you can do is you can very easily remember where I saw that link to an outside page? You build your site that looks attractive and has all of the story and everything that you would want in Google Sites. And then very easily, when you go to pages, you go plus and you do a new link. And that's the page that is not necessarily a Google site, but that could be whatever database you've got that's going to allow people to search for the images and do those kinds of things. Right. So yeah, I like to do a mix and match of that kind of thing.
Yeah, this is amazing. I'm freaking amazed.
It's
at the options.
It's a great.
So I'm curious about this. Go ahead, Logan.
I'm sorry, Jeff. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
That's right. I'm saying too much. You go.
Okay. You know how on the Women Married page, how they have like a little short Google slide and it has the dots where it slides to one picture. Can you make the Google slide do that with a timer on it or something?
The image carousel will do that. So if I click on image carousel, I go to plus, I go to select image, and I can do the same kind of thing. So I can go to my photos. So let me pick a few photos here. Just a bunch of random photos. I'll say insert. And now I can pull down and I can do a few things. I can show the dots. I can show captions. I can do an auto start. I can do a transition speed. So if I want it to be fast, it can be fast, medium. And then I say insert, and now it inserts it right there. And then I can control the size as well. So if I publish that, and then I can put that wherever I want in the site too. So I wouldn't put it here necessarily, but now if I view the site, that's not how I would want it, but
okay, I get the idea.
You get the idea.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And then you can have a text box right next to it if you wanted to explain all the stuff that you're looking at, right? And then I also have the arrows so I can control the clicks.
I noticed I was having some trouble with the carousel too. One of my pictures was turning on its side.
Yeah, and you just have to figure that out. Sometimes you can fix that in like a photo editor program, depending on what computer you're using. You can use something like IrfanView is still a valid photo editing program, IrfanView. They still make it. I've been using it for like 20 something years.
It's for Ukraine, right? It's amazing.
I think so. But you know, if you have Photoshop, if you're lucky enough to have Photoshop, you can use that.
So I did have one more question. I have a fair number of web pages on my personal website. Let's say I wanted to port those over to this. They're already in HTML. So do I just copy and paste them in?
I would copy and paste them. Yeah.
Yeah, that works.
Yeah.
They're pointing to different locations. So I'd probably have to change all the points for the links and stuff.
The links should be okay. If you just copy all that text, don't grab the HTML, but grab the text itself.
Yeah.
And paste that, and it should translate the links pretty well.
Okay, I'll try it.
Yeah, give it a shot.
Yeah.
Mike, do you have another learning session coming?
I don't have anything planned for right now. This was the last one for this session. We'll have more next semester. And if people have ideas, I'm happy to take ideas about what other people would like to.
Okay, so you have like an open door where we just come and if we have questions,
can always come to me and you can get individual help.
Okay, thank you.
Absolutely.
Did you ever send out the links for the learning from the last session also? I
am so backed up. I have not.
I didn't see it.
I wanted to make sure I wasn't
missing. And everyone's going to get it. Yeah.
Okay.
I know what you mean about being busy. So I was also going to say, Logan, there might be, if Mike's not around or you're a night owl or a morning person, you could try doing YouTube. There might be some, or just a Google search. There might be some Google search YouTubes and such that could help you too.
Okay, thank you so much, Jeff.
Yeah.